no football today on a Saturday, Joe. Lisi, Donnie, Rightside here. But guess what, Joe? There's no football today.
Is it?
There's no football tomorrow, but there's football people at the desk ready to get you ready for Super Bowl 60 in 1 week. How about that?
This is it, the calm before the storm, Donnie.
Yeah.
Big Super Bowl. We see 4.5s in the market in favor of Sam Darnold and the Seahawks dominating the L.A. Rams. Can New England do it, right? It's a rematch of a Super Bowl that the Patriots stole from Russell Wilson
Really
and Marshawn Lynch. We know about how that game played out. We can only hope that game comes down to the final play again.
By the way, I remember watching that Super Bowl, and I did have Seattle in that game. And I remember Marshawn Lynch getting tripped up close to the goal line saying, that's perfect. Run more time because they're going to hand the football off to Lynch on the next play and score a touchdown. Belichick was so baffled, he didn't even call a timeout. So we lost. I'm not extending this game. And then they throw a pass, and it's an interception, and we live in infamy because then we find out that Pete Carroll in the front office wanted Russell Wilson to be the hero and not Marshawn Lynch. One of the worst calls in Super Bowl history.
Yeah, and that was who? That was Darrell Bevell that made that call, right? The offensive coordinator. I'm pretty sure it was, but you play to win the game. I mean, I don't understand, when we talk about storylines and how this game played out. Marshawn Lynch was the mainstay for that team, and they were pounding the rock between the tackles. You talk about that drive leading up to that. You're on the 1 yard line. Who cares who's the MVP?
Unbelievable.
Just get the Super Bowl. It would have been your second Super Bowl ring instead. It was 1 of 6 for Tom Brady and the New England Patriots, and it's just amazing how it played out. But again, when you look at this matchup and you look at the difference, right? We talk about Sam Darnold and that offense and how they exploded against L.A. They do have the better defense. Drake May is going to have to make plays in this matchup if New England's not only going to cover, Donnie, if in fact they are a money line winner in this ballgame.
Yeah, we're going to go over everything you need to know about this football game, but more importantly, how some of these teams got here, and also the injury reports, which are interesting, and sickness might be going around the New England parts right now. Drake May missing some practice, so we'll get into that. But how we got here, Joe, is really important. If you're watching those games, AFC and NFC Championship Sunday here, you saw that game number 1, Joe, 10-7 victory for the New England Patriots over the Denver Broncos. Jarrett Stidham was the starting quarterback over Bo Nix. Why? Because Bo Nix went down with the broken ankle the week before. And a lot of people have been talking all week long, Joe. I haven't had a chance to talk to you about it. The thought process on Sean Payton up 7-0 early in that football game on a 4th and 1, the ability to kick a chip shot field goal to make it 10-0, but decided to go for it here, Joe, and that might have changed the trajectory of that game.
Yeah, absolutely. And the play call I didn't love. The pass to the flat.
Would you have preferred if they would have ran the football and didn't get it? Would you have preferred that?
I put it this way: I would have liked him naked bootleg. How about that? They went out to the strong side, short side of the field. I believe it gave the advantage to New England in that matchup. I think they could have been a little bit more creative with the play call. They went with a safe call. He didn't catch it, and obviously the defender was there. But if and I understand, and I'm as aggressive as you can be in a matchup. Yeah. But you had Jarrett Stidham. You wanted to go up 2 scores. At that particular time, that was not the time to roll the dice. You wanted to put the pressure back on Drake May, and you had to believe that, at that particular time, if you didn't get it, you get all the pressure back on your defense, and you give momentum back to New England. That was completely dead in that matchup. I just thought, look, we can just pinpoint that particular play. That was a mistake. But I just felt like once they jumped up 7-0, I felt like the play call with Sean Payton was a little bit more conservative. I think they should have taken more shots in the passing game with Stidham.
And by the way, when you're watching that game early, both of the teams had 3 announced to start, a little bit shaky at quarterback, but then you hit that 52-yard bomb to Mims here, scored the touchdown. A great play call, which shows you putting out, bootleg out, wide open Cortland Sutton for the touchdown to make that 7-0. But then we had a couple drives stall out, and then you saw the drive where you go down the field for the Broncos. And it wasn't one of those, Joe, like, hey, we got a fumble, we're in good field position, and we don't want to mess it up. Like, they drove the length of the field, and if they would have made it 10-0, it might have been a little bit different. But as you're taking a look at that game, and it played out, the one thing I didn't see coming, Joe, handicapping the game, was how nasty that second half would be, particularly the fourth quarter, when the snow crept crept in, and nobody could really move the football. Some missed field goals, some blocked field goals as it played out, but you can't help but look at that final score. 10-7, you could have that 10-0 lead here, which you don't know if they would have won the football game, but it just felt like the defense was playing so well. The play calls were right in Stidham, and you're also just building his momentum moving forward, getting him confidence, Joe, and it seemed like the bottom fell out after that.
And that's the thing, because I didn't see the snow either, right? Yeah. But let's just call it what it is. You got to believe, and Denver's a big analytical team, you had to believe that they had a pulse on the weather report heading into that matchup, that it was going to be potentially worse in the second half. So if you're Sean Payton, I understand you want to go up 14-0, but 10-0 at that particular time with your defense playing lights out and Drake May at that particular time looking like a deer in the headlights, and he didn't even step up at all. They got lucky, not lucky, but they did force their turnover with the fumble recovery. I mean, you have to believe that Sean Payton knows all of this information prior to the game, and that's what makes that decision a little bit more head-scratching. But at the end of the day, you have to make plays, and they played in the fourth quarter, I want to say a rope-a-dope. They were hoping to play field position. They weren't aggressive. Look, the field was completely covered. Yeah. They had positive field position at certain times in the fourth quarter, and he chose to throw, to the flat and run the football. At the end of the day, You have to take the game to the opposition, and they didn't do that, and that's why they lost 10-7. But I will say they did get the covers, a 3.5-point dog.
Yeah, they did. And actually, I was looking at that football game, Joe. We saw the 5.5s all week, go down to the 5s, the 4.5s, and even by 3.5 by game time. I actually ended up taking New England at -3.5 in that game, saying, you know what, I think the number is a little bit too low. And it would have been very interesting to see if we had a cleaner second half with the weather conditions, how that played out. Now, Borregales missed a 46-yarder, missed a 60-plus yarder before the half, and also could have had chances where you're inside the 10-yard line, you run a trick play, that goes to your running back, it gets stopped. So there was a lot of questionable things that New England Patriots did. But they won that football game. But also, Joe, some of the takeaways from this game was all year long we watched Drake May. MVP conversation. Could it be him? Could it be Matthew Stafford? But lately, is it the defenses he's playing? Is it the type of situations where it was rainy against a good defense with Houston? You had the bad weather up there, obviously, in Denver. 10 of 21, 86 yards, and his longest play was a 30-yard completion to Mac Hollins, which was a trick play flea flicker. Are we feeling confident about Drake May moving into the Super Bowl right now?
Not confident, but again, he's going to have to produce and get over his totals if they're going to win this game. I don't think he can go 170, 180 yards and they win this game. I just think that's going right into the front seven of Seattle. And now after that game against L.A., Donnie, they haven't allowed a 100-yard rusher in 28 straight games. Yeah. So you have to know that, hey, if we want to run the football, we might have to be a little bit more aggressive on first and second down to open up the run later in the matchup, because if we run it and be complacent and predictable, first down, second down, we run the football the way we did against Denver. Now we're in 3rd and 8 against one of the best third down defenses in the NFL, and that's pressure on Drake May. That could be turnovers, and that's what you get. So I'm not sold on Drake May big picture. But again, with 2 weeks of preparation, Vrabel's done a fantastic job. I think part of the issue is, too, hey, Stephon Diggs is a good receiver, right? He's lost his step. He's not the same player he was back in Minnesota. Kayshon Boutte is a good receiver. He's not an elite speed guy. That is the problem, I think, why now defenses are forcing Drake May to throw over the top, because they're taking away the rushing attack.
No, and you're right about that, too. Like, if you just look at the receiving numbers last week from the Patriots, again, who scored only 10 points, and we are taking into effect late third quarter, fourth quarter, that the conducive conditions weren't really there for scoring. Matt Collins, 2 for 51, caught the one flea flicker. Stephon Diggs had 5 catches in that game, Joe. 17 yards. Then you take a look at Hunter Henry, who's supposed to be one of those above-average tight ends, 2 for 12. They're going to need a lot more going into Super Bowl Sunday to try to come up with something that's going to say, you know what, we're going up against another good defense, Joe.
Yeah, again, be aggressive. I think how you neutralize that is, again, on running situations, you could throw the football. You don't have to throw it 40 and 45 times per game, but it's when you throw the football to open up the rushing attack. And I'll say this, too. I don't know what was wrong with Travion Henderson with only 3 carries, but if they're going to win this game, he needs to have a bigger part of that offense. As good as Stevenson is, he's the home run hitter for that rushing attack.
And by the way, Jared Stidham in that game, if those first 2 drives had about give or take 60-plus yards passing, only finished with 133 when his total, Joe, got creamed all the way up to around 200 yards and higher, depending on which booker you're looking at. Stidham, not good enough to get it done. Drake May is going to find himself in the Super Bowl. Let's find out what happened in the NFC and also some advantages we might have for Super Bowl 60 coming up next.
Well, if you check the FanDuel Sportsbook immediately after the Mets traded for Freddie Peralta, you will find that in the National League East, the New York Mets are plus 160 on the FanDuel Sportsbook to win the East. That's followed by the Philadelphia Phillies at plus 200, and the Atlanta Braves are right there as well. And then, of course, you have the Marlins and then the Nationals after that. The Mets are favored to win the NL East. Buy or sell. The Mets, George, will win the National League East this season. Buy or sell.
So defensively, this team's going to be a nightmare. Pitching, yeah, okay, I like Peralta. I like McClain. But Craig, can McClain go 150, 170, 180 innings? Don't know. We'll see. And they have good depth there. Peterson, Sanger, blah, blah, blah. Everything they go there. Are they going to win it? No. I'm going to sell this. It's not so much that I'm down on the Mets, but Philly's still a good team. All right? Atlanta, a good team. I think Atlanta is one pitcher short of being that team. All right? And maybe they're a team that gets Gallen or gets Framber Valdez. Even those guys aren't the same they used to be. Atlanta's named to be a number 1. Can they be a 4 or 5? Yes. And I think I would like Atlanta a whole bunch here. So it's not a knock on the Mets. I think they're a playoff team. I just don't think they're going to win the division. Small sell.
I am with George. I think that the Braves are being supremely underrated here. Like, this is a team that easily could win the division. Would they make another signing like that? I don't know that they would. Philadelphia's perspective, are the Phillies as good as last year? They don't, Zach Wheeler, gone for now, I guess. Is he okay? Can he pitch? Ranger Suarez, not there. Dallas Garcia, that's the big ad for the Phillies. So I think it's going to be close, but I don't think it'll be the Mets.
Fantasy Sports Today. Friday, starting at 3 p.m. Only on SportsGrid.
Pro Football Today right here on a Saturday on the SportsGrid Network. Donnie Rightside along with Joe Lisi, getting you ready for Super Bowl 60 taking place next Sunday in Santa Clara. We'll go everything from, I think we might have to bring up some of these uniform combinations for the Super Bowl, Joe, whether we like it or not. Too many patches on the uniform I'm hearing right now? Come on now.
We're having
I need my USA 250 patch on me right now. Where is it? See it for the Super Bowl.
Well, it just brings up, I keep going back to college has the patches now. So they approve patches. So we'll see, Alabama, and we'll kill all the pageantry and tradition of college football with the patches. But the NFL patches are good for the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that. It's with the corporate logos, feel like a race car.
Exactly.
But we'll see. What different uniform? If I was the Patriots in this game, and again, I don't.
All white they went, Joe.
Okay.
Non-throwback.
I would go Stanley Morgan. Grogan.
Yeah.
With the red pants.
Red pants, white top?
Yeah.
Yes, it's with the hat, with the football guy on the hat. I mean, it's beautiful. Like, you have so many good uniforms.
Those,
for
Tony
the New England
Collins.
Patriots
I met
would
Tony
be fantastic.
Collins back
Irving
in the
Fryer back
day.
in the day. There
What's
you go.
wrong with those?
Nothing's wrong with those. They're absolutely beautiful. Tippett at linebacker.
Andre Tippett.
There you go.
I'm just saying, that would be iconic to go to those. I mean, see, I think Seattle's old school.
They're going all blue, all navy. Like, I love the old school. Like, if we win an old school Super Bowl, it would be absolutely perfect.
Yeah,
but they
I
always
think it would
blow
be fantastic. I don't know if Goodell and the NFL would approve it, but it would be fantastic to see that. I mean, when you look at Seattle, I think it's interesting, too, on top of the uniform combos. This is technically their first true road game or neutral site game, even though the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And when we talk about Darnold performing, he's done great at home, but now here we go, neutral field. Let's see if it's a different animal.
And also the New England Patriots doing well in neutral field / road games. They don't lose, and maybe that factors into it here once we talk about Super Bowl 60. But how we got there also, great game, 31-27 NFC Championship game, which saw the Seattle Seahawks victorious over the Los Angeles Rams. A fantastic game from start to finish. And like myself, if I was taking the 2.5 points 5 minutes ago, kick that field goal at the 5. Give yourself a chance, which would have covered. They go for it, Joe. Back-to-back pass plays, 3rd down and 4, 4th down and 4. Don't get it. Basically the game.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this about watching that game play out. And I was on the over, and they blew through that total. But, 300-plus for both Darnold and Matt Stafford. That game really switched momentum. As good as L.A. played in the first half, they have the 13-10 lead. They get the football back. In the second quarter, there's a $1:39 on the clock with 2 timeouts.
Yep.
And, I love Tom Brady, but even Tom Brady was dead wrong in the breakdown. Go back to the tape. He goes, you don't get aggressive until the 50-yard line. Tom, you have a 2nd and 5 on the 34-yard line with 2 timeouts.
I agree with Tom Brady.
Yeah, come on.
I agree.
Donnie, you have an MVP caliber quarterback in Matt Stafford, 2 big play wide receivers in Devontae Adams and Puka, and they throw a 5-yard out on both plays. One to Kyron Williams, the other one to Puka. They didn't get aggressive working seam routes or attack vertically to actually move up the football field. And what happens? In basically 30 seconds after punting the football, Sam Darnold comes down and he hits JSN for the touchdown, and now they're down 17.
And he hit the big play before the JSN, then the busted coverage.
But my point is, like, as good as they played, it wasn't like L.A. was up, Donnie, 14 points, and they were being a bit conservative. There was an opportunity there to tack on at least a field goal, knock off time on the clock, and give back Seattle no time to work down the field. They let them back with 1:15 on the clock and basically almost all 3 timeouts. That was horrible clock management and poor play calling on Stafford and more importantly, McVay.
1,000% on that, but I do agree with what Tom Brady said, because if I'm the play caller in that situation, I'm running that clock on the first 2 plays to say, you know what? This 3rd down conversion here, I can now start pushing the football.
But it was 2nd and 5.
Yeah, but the goal for me in that situation, Joe, was not actually, getting the touchdown. It was like, I want to make sure they don't get the football back with a chance to kick a field goal. And they blew it up because if you hold that football and nothing happens, Joe, 13-10 at the half, that momentum is yours because you saw the first quarter. Right. It looked like Seattle was going to score 75 points on them. Right. No. They completely grabbed back momentum, and they blew it in that pass.
I understand what you're saying. Yeah. And I understand if it's an inept offense, right? I get that. But you're talking about MVP candidate for the league that threw 40-plus touchdowns, and you knew that in the last time you had this game, it took 38 and 39 points to beat you last time. So if you're using that in your back pocket and you're saying, okay, you know what? I don't want to give Seattle any time on the clock. You still got to be aggressive, Donnie. You're the team with the football. It's not like there's 30 seconds on the clock. You have 1:39 with 2 timeouts, 2nd and 5 on the 34-yard line. I mean, come on. They throw 2 incompletions. They give them back the football. Yep. I mean, what was that? I mean, I understand what you're saying. You want to get more aggressive if you get into positive field position. Yep. I'm all for that. But they have to create that as well. And this is a guy that's won a Super Bowl. Why he's so conservative in certain aspects of the football game is absolutely ridiculous.
I would have slow played the first part of that drive, hoping to score. If not, they didn't. And again, you can't fault the defense. You can't fault the offense, I should say. Like, okay, we gave them the football back. Make a stop, man. Deep ball right down the middle of JSN, wide open coverage, and then a busted coverage out there, which showed JSN scoring another touchdown, and away we went, Joe. The quarterbacks were fantastic in this football game. Matthew Stafford, 22 of 35, 374, 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions. Sam Darnold, 25 of 36 for 346 and 3 touchdowns and no interceptions. They were throwing dots back and forth at this point, Joe. But again, we get back to that point. The Rams had a chance in that fourth quarter. If they kick the field goal, they still make it a one-possession game, but you only need a field goal to end up. As it turns turned out it really didn't matter at that point because I don't think they were going to have enough time to kick a field goal anyway. But just you see the 2nd and 4 turn into a 3rd and 4 and a 4th and 4, and you don't get it. Didn't like the play calls at that point either, Joe.
No, me neither. And again, they get into, if you remember, they get the first down, right? Yeah. That's the one where Stafford ran for it on 4th and 1.
Got sacked, yes.
Right, so they're inside. He goes back to the run. And I understand you want to have balance, but this defense hasn't allowed a 100-yard rusher. In the red zone, they're going to buckle up. You got to know that. You have to be more aggressive in those red zone opportunities, and that's where I believe McVay blew the game. Let's not forget, Woolen put them back in the game with the stupid 15-yard misconduct call. They should have been down 11 points. They got a gimme touchdown right after that with Puka because they were completely blindsided by that. Again, we can look at this game. They played a great first quarter, LA, and a half of a second quarter. Outside that was one of the worst play callers for McVay throughout the regular season, I thought.
Yeah, it's a shame that it had to go down like that. Now the questions are going to come up as Matthew Stafford coming back to the football team next year probably just wants a little bit more of a pay bump. But anytime you have a quarterback throw for 374, you run for 5.2 yards per carry, your top wide receiver 165, your second wide receiver 89 yards, and you lost, that's a defensive problem. We'll be right back here at SportsGrid Network.
Well, if you check the FanDuel Sportsbook immediately after the Mets traded for Freddie Peralta, you will find that in the National League East, the New York Mets are plus 160 on the FanDuel Sportsbook to win the East. That's followed by the Philadelphia Phillies at plus 200, and the Atlanta Braves are right there as well. And then, of course, you have the Marlins and then the Nationals after that. The Mets are favored to win the NL East. Buy or sell. The Mets, George, will win the National League East this season. Buy or sell.
So defensively, this team's going to be a nightmare. Pitching, okay, I like Peralta. I like McClain. But Craig, can McClain go 150, 170, 180 innings? Don't know. We'll see. And they have good depth there. Peterson, Sanger, blah, blah, blah. Everything they go there. Are they going to win it? No. Wow, I'm going to sell this. It's not so much that I'm down on the Mets, but Philly's still a good team. All right? Atlanta, a good team. I think Atlanta is one pitcher short of being that team. All right? And maybe they have a team that gets Gallen or gets Framber Valdez. Even those guys aren't the same they used to be. Atlanta seems to be a number 1. Can they be a 4 or 5? Yes. And I think I would like Atlanta a whole bunch here. So it's not a knock on the Mets. I think they're a playoff team. I just don't think they're going to win the division. So I'll sell.
I am with George. I think that the Braves are being supremely underrated here. Like, this is a team that easily could win the division. Would they make another signing like that? I don't know that they would. Philadelphia's perspective, are the Phillies as good as last year? They don't, Zach Wheeler, gone for now, I guess. Is he okay? Can he pitch? Ranger Suarez, not there. Dallas Garcia, that's the big ad for the Phillies. So I think it's going to be close, but I don't think it'll be the Mets.
Fantasy Sports Today. Friday, starting at 3 p.m. Only on SportsGrid.
Pro Football Today getting you ready for Super Bowl 60. That is the Seattle Seahawks going to take on the New England Patriots here. Donnie Rightside along with Joe Lisi. And let's set the table for that game, which takes place next Sunday here. There's going to be some movement throughout the week, and once we get those final practice reports, making those final determinations, Joe. But we do see a 4.5 opening number. Bounced around from around 5.5 back to 4.5, but primarily 4.5 now across the board. And a total of 45.5, which is down from 46.5 at the opening number, Joe. Let's start with the side itself. I don't think it's any confusion out here. To me, Seattle is the better football team, but I just want to see where those ticket counts end up because it's heavy right now towards the Seahawks.
Yeah, I think we're going to get brought back down. I mean, I think we're going to see movement down to 4. I really do. Maybe even 3.5. The reason why I said that is what you said in the opening segment. As dominant as Seattle is, New England's undefeated on the road or on a neutral field this year. I think that's going to have more of a weight with sharp bettors as this game plays out. And, to get a key number of 4, 4.5, it's similar to what we saw with Denver, right? We saw Denver a peak of 5.5, and then we got back down. It was 3.5, and we saw some 3s in the market. I don't think we get down to 3 based off this, perception, but I do see maybe 3.5s or even a flat 4 in this matchup, Donnie.
If we are taking a look at the teams and like who they played, It's no surprise that the easier schedule, quote unquote, was the New England Patriots. But you can't fault them for winning football games. But as you take a look at the playoff run that they've had, Joe, the Chargers have a really good defense, 16-3 victory. The Texans have a really good defense, 28-16 victory here, and there was some weather concerns in that game. Same thing with the Denver Broncos, good defense and 10-7. They're battle-tested, and they're going to get another really good defense from Seattle on this side of it. So to me, I look at the game and say, I do want to take Seattle because I think they're the better football team. But also, Joe, we're talking about 24-20. You don't get the cover at that spot here, which is a big difference.
Yeah, that's why I think you're going to start to see people dive in, as the week progresses with the 4.5. It's like, hey, I want to bet the dog anyway. I know New England hasn't won a Super Bowl since Brady left, but now is an opportunity, and they're sort of doing it eerily like Bill Belichick used to do, right? We don't have a lot of household names like elite playmakers, JSN, or some of the others, and when you look at this team, they're just a very well-coached, disciplined football team that works off of turnovers. They're rarely out of position and give up chunk plays on the defensive side of the ball. So, again, when you look at that and you look at, okay, there's always the potential, as good as he's played, for Sam Darnold to be Sam Darnold. I'm not taking away from him. But with a 2-week hiatus, this could disrupt the train in motion, per se, and that could allow Drake May and New England to maybe potentially be within margin and steal a victory.
Both of these quarterbacks probably happy to have that bye week. Sam Darnold still dealing with a little bit of that oblique injury, which didn't seem like it bothered him all that much against Los Angeles, even though there were the visuals of him getting wrapped up with the heat wraps to try to keep that oblique warm. But understanding Drake May, where he gets tackled in that football game from behind, maybe hurts his shoulder just a little bit, finished the game out. They won that, but also now coming up on the practice reports, Joe, limited in activities and also a little bit sick to end the week. Both of these quarterbacks are telling us here, along with their coaching staffs, we shouldn't have any worries. Do you have any worries about these two quarterbacks?
No, health-wise, no. I think they're both ready to go. The only concern is which one's more dialed in as it relates to the passing attack. And if I had to bet right now, I probably would bet Drake May just because he needs to get to that number to potentially pull out the victory. I don't think if they're going to play bully ball and try to grind out a 17-13 win, I just think this is the wrong team to do it against. I think they're significantly outmatched on the defensive side of the ball with the front seven led by DeMarcus Lawrence and Seattle, and it's going to be very difficult to just line up and run it, Donnie, and that's the problem.
Looking at that total, Joe, the 46.5, I'm actually surprised that we dropped to 45.5 because if we're taking a look at this football game, not anticipating 32 degrees, snowy conditions, heavy winds here, and you should have pristine conditions out there in Santa Clara, I do think both of these teams have the opportunity to score. I'm not worried about Seattle's offense because I do think it'll score. I just need to get matched up for New England just to say to myself, you know what, can they get to that 20-point marker? Because then I do think both of these teams will end up going over there. Your thought process on these two offenses, Joe, coming into this game?
Yeah, I think Seattle will push tempo. Look, Seattle's more balanced, I believe, than Drake May and New England. And I know Drake May has great numbers. But when you just look at the mentality and philosophy of Seattle, they want to run the football, but they also want to stretch vertically. Every throw is going downfield. They finally got Rashid Shaheed involved on the 50-yard reception. Could he play a bigger part in this offense? And again, when you look at New England, I just think they're going to have to take shots. I don't think they can just run Ramondre Stevenson, for 2.5 yards per carry on 26 carries and hope to be within margin. They're going to have to score potentially 20, 23 in this matchup, and we'll see if they can get there.
And I tell you, like the way some of these teams end the season, we told you how tough that string was for New England on the conditions they played in and also the defenses they played on vice versa, Joe. 49ers game for Seattle, 41-6, absolutely dropped the hammer. Game number 2, Rams, 31-27. Tons of offense there scored there for the Seattle Seahawks. That's going to be one to match up. But again, 2 weeks for these defenses, each to get ready for the other opponents. It should be fun as it works itself out. And also, hopefully, once we get to Super Bowl Sunday, we're not worried, Joe, about any injuries to any quarterbacks at that point. We continue to roll on Pro Football Today.
Well, if you check the FanDuel Sportsbook immediately after the Mets traded for Freddie Peralta, you will find that in the National League East, the New York Mets are plus 160 on the FanDuel Sportsbook to win the East. That's followed by the Philadelphia Phillies at plus 200, and the Atlanta Braves are right there as well. And then, of course, you have the Marlins and then the Nationals after that. The Mets are favored? win the NL East. Buy or sell? The Mets, George, will win the National League East this season. Buy or sell?
So defensively, this team's going to be a nightmare. Pitching, yeah, okay. I like Peralta. I like McClain. But Craig, can McClain go 150, 170, 180 innings? Don't know. We'll see. And they have good depth there. Peterson, Sanger, blah blah blah. Everything they go there. Are they going to win it? No. Wow, I'm going to sell this. It's not so much that I'm down on the Mets, but Philly's still a good team. All right. Atlanta, a good team. I think Atlanta is one pitcher short of being that team. All right. And maybe they have a team that gets Gallen or gets Framber Valdez. Even those guys aren't the same they used to be. Atlanta's seem to be a number one. Can they be a 4 or 5? Yes. And I think I would like Atlanta a whole bunch here. So it's not a knock on the Mets. I think they're a playoff team. I just don't think they're going to win the division. Small sell.
I am with George. I think that the Braves are being supremely underrated here. Like, this is a team that easily could win the division. Would they make another signing like that? I don't know that they would. Philadelphia's perspective, are the Phillies as good as last year? They don't, Zach Wheeler, gone for now, I guess. Is he okay? Can he pitch? Ranger Suarez, not there. Dallas Garcia, that's the big ad for the Phillies. So I think it's going to be close, but I don't think it'll be the Mets.
Fantasy Sports Today. Friday, starting at 3 p.m. Only on SportsGrid.
Pro football today, right here on the desk. It's a Saturday. We're roughly a week away from Super Bowl 60, Joe. A lot of fun, a lot of prop bets to go over in this show, but there are also some other opportunities that we can take a look at, which includes the coaching carousel, Joe. Still 2 tickets left on that ride. Can you believe it?
Yeah, well, the Raiders, I think, they're holding out for Kubiak. I think that's clearly the obvious choice. They needed an offensive mind. Pete Carroll was aging. He could see the punches coming, couldn't get out of the way. You potentially have Fernando Mendoza. You got Brock Bowers coming back, Ashton Genty. I mean, there is the big three, right? So if you're an offensive mind like Kubiak, you got to believe that's a pretty good landing spot. So we'll see exactly how it plays out. Some of the other decisions, though, Donnie, I don't know.
Yeah, we're going to hit some of these decisions. And by the way, how about this decision, which is my favorite one? When you have 4 or 5 jobs opening up in the NFL, you say to yourself, you probably get a pretty good candidate, and there's not that many jobs available. There's only 32 total coaching jobs. But we had double digits open, and now you're finding yourself like, all right, Vegas might be a good spot. Willing to spend money, nice city to live in at this point. You have the number 1 overall pick, and you have cap space to spend. So you might say, you know what, that's a great job. And we do think Kubiak's probably going to get that on the predictive markets. You're having as a heavy favorite. But, Joe, Arizona's still out there.
That's crazy.
Nobody wants that. Like, it is an NFL job. Nobody wants it.
I'll take it.
Who are they going to hire for that, though?
I don't know.
Who's left?
Is Kyler even going to be there?
Nobody knows anything.
But I don't think. But here's the thing: when you look at the talent, is the talent bad?
Look at
I don't
that,
think it is.
LaFleur. It's not bad talent. It's just a bad organization.
But my point is, you got Marvin Harrison. You got Trey McBride, one of the best tight ends.
Yeah.
I mean, James Conner, if he comes back from the knee injury. I mean,
decent defense.
I mean, the defense, I think they did a really nice job with obviously Will Johnson and Walter Nolan. Now Nolan's banged up, but still the pieces are there. Budda Baker's still there. What's wrong with the team?
It's the owner, Joe. They make you pay. They don't even pay for your DoorDash. You get a couple burgers over there, you got to charge it to your own account.
Well, I thought Gannon was terrible. I know. I didn't think
it wasn't a great hire either, because if you remember, too, Gannon took that job off of the Eagles' Super Bowl run, where it was like at the end of the string anyway. We can't interview anybody else. You might as well get that spot.
Well, how about, do you remember his press conference? It was horrible.
No.
Who took the bus to get here? Who drove? Remember that?
Oh, man.
The guys were looking at him like, this guy's a clown. I mean, I thought the coaching decisions last year were horrible. I thought the offensive coordinator, Jacoby Brissett for fantasy purposes was fantastic. The guy put up almost over 300 every week. They couldn't run the football at all. With Bam Knight and Michael Carter, I mean, they were
absolutely.
Oh, God, they were completely clueless. It was a joke of an organization. Again, You tell me who would go there.
And also, like, it's the product of your environment as well, Joe. Like, it's like, okay, you're going to be Arizona, which you don't like the ownership group, and you're going to have to figure out the quarterback situation. Well, who do we play? Oh, it's the 49ers, it's the Seahawks, and it's the Rams. That's not an appealing job for
No,
a person
but
taking.
I'll tell you this, and I know Gruden turned down supposedly the OC job
for the Jets.
Yeah, but wouldn't you throw like a kitchen sink if I'm the owner at Gruden?
But that's not what they do, though.
But who are you going to get then? You can't get Kingsbury again. He
Bring him
already
back
failed. But you need somebody like that. Who would you get?
There's nobody left.
Would you take Schwartz?
No, like, because I think you're going down that same path.
Yeah, but
I need a young, up-and-coming coordinator, and nobody wants it. That's the issue. Nobody wants it.
Okay, but Schwartz was upset that they picked Monken over him. He wants out of Cleveland. You wouldn't go Jim Schwartz there?
No, I wouldn't go defense.
But then who are you
just went defense.
I understand that, but who are you going to get? You have nobody right now.
I would have probably put the full court press on. A head coaching spot is supposed to get precedent over. Like, you couldn't get a Mike McDaniel out there and say, just reset my program for 2 to 3 years and see what happens.
I wouldn't want Mike McDaniel. I would take Joe Brady in a heartbeat over McDaniel.
Like, why wouldn't they do that? Like, Brady, honestly, Brady probably thought he was eventually going to get the Bills job anyway, but if McDermott stays, like, that's the type of guy I would have went with. Give me offensive.
Why can't you get McDermott? Why wouldn't
McDermott? I think McDermott would be a home run. Even as you said, I don't like defense. I think McDermott in Arizona would make too much sense for that.
I mean, that's a.
And who even knows if he wants it at this point?
Well, he might want to take a year off. These guys,
like, I'm going to get Arizona's job. I'll wait.
Would you throw? I don't know if he wants a job, but would you throw the kitchen sink at Tomlin? I mean,
yes, because I think you need a foundation starter in Arizona.
You do, but my point is, you haven't had one.
Yeah.
For how long? Since they made the Super Bowl with the Steelers.
Yeah.
And they had Larry Fitzgerald and Kurt Warner.
Was Wisenhunt the coach at that point?
I believe so, yeah. But I'm just saying, it's been a long time. They rolled the dice with Kingsbury. It didn't work out with Kyler. They went with Gannon, the other side of the football.
Yep.
His defense was absolutely atrocious. They never got better this year. They have pieces in place. They're young. I don't understand why, if you're the owner, why don't you just say, hey, look, it hasn't worked out, but now I have to get firm ground. I have to have a coach that has at least one. Forget the quarter. I would look, if it was me, I would take Gruden. I would take Schwartz. If we're talking coaches that have already now been let go, I would throw the kitchen sink at Tomlin or McDermott, one of those guys.
The one that really stood out to me in this coaching cycle so far, Joe, and we do Prediction Markets Edge. We have a good time. We try to track everything there. Mike McCarthy was trading the day he got hired at 11% on Kalshi.
Made a fortune.
Because I said to myself all week long, there's like the opposite coach that the Pittsburgh Steelers would ever want is Mike McCarthy. An offensive guy, aging at this point. We're looking for younger, hungrier, talented that can stay here for 10, 15, or 20 years.
Yeah.
When I heard that Mike McCarthy was hired as a head coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I fell out of my chair.
Yeah.
And a lot of people on social media and also Pittsburgh Steelers fans were doing the same thing. Like, when you talk about outside-the-box hire, that was it for Pittsburgh. I'm not saying it's going to be a disaster, but when you move on from Mike Tomlin, I want young, 35, coordinator, hungry, and I got Mike McCarthy.
Well, here's the thing. The last 2 years of both Dallas and Green Bay, he's failed. And he's regressed where his best years come in the forefront and then they go considerably lower. It's like the bell curve. So when you look at McCarthy's success, and I've said this to Cap with Kevin. Well, you know, I said I don't look at it as like a throw a Band-Aid on it and they're back in the playoffs.
Yes.
I'm starting to believe it's a major rebuild, which, to your point, you need a younger head coach. Cap said that, Donnie, they believe it's like they're just a few players away.
Yes.
I don't believe that, though. I don't think McCarthy's the right guy. McCarthy couldn't take Dak and Dallas to the promised land. He couldn't get back to the promised land with a healthy and a younger Aaron Rodgers. He's going to do it now with Aaron Rodgers in the back end, going up against some of the dominant teams in the AFC. I just don't see it. And who are you going to get from offensive personnel? They need a pure number one. DK Metcalf isn't the guy.
Yeah.
They have 4 tight ends. That's great, but they still can't run the football consistently. Gainwell is good. He's a change of pace back, but he's certainly not. I mean, who are we looking at? Is he basically LT back there? No. So what are they doing with the head coach? What are they going to do?
Like, when Tomlin steps down, like, let's just say they would have fired Mike Tomlin. They didn't, but he still stepped down. That's the perfect time for the organization to say, like, we don't necessarily have to reboot because we do have talent. But But here's what we're going to do. We're going to hit the button that says our job is going to find a younger quarterback. It can't be Aaron Rodgers. We'll keep some of our defensive stalwarts over there because maybe we can't trade him and it makes all that much sense. Like, it's still the capabilities of being a playoff team, but you want to give the team a future. And Joe is right where he points out. You look at Mike McCarthy. He won a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers, I believe, in 2010. And at that point, let's just go from 2010 to 2017. Aaron Rodgers was the best quarterback in football, and they couldn't sniff another Super Bowl championship, where they found themselves, hey, well, what's Mike McCarthy doing late in the week? Oh, he's getting massages. Ended up getting himself fired. Then he somehow winds up after a year off in Dallas and try to convince them that he's a more analytical coach. And you do have a great quarterback at that point with Dak Prescott, at least a regular season. Wasn't able to get over the hump. So if Mike Tomlin was an institution in Pittsburgh who you felt that probably couldn't get you over the hump and he decided to step down because he didn't think he can get over the hump, your answer was Mike McCarthy?
Yeah,
that's what I can't understand.
Yeah, it's these organizations love hiring people or coaches that they are familiar with. It's not so much best fit. He's a football guy. We know him. He's been around the block. Let's bring him in. And I get it that he's a Pittsburgh guy and a PA guy, but that doesn't necessarily.
Joe, did you see it? He's crying.
He was clapping too. He was all excited. We'll see. He's not coaching and pipe, Donnie.
You know what? Walnut Creek looks kind of tough right now with that stacked up defense at this point. But look, we don't know what's going to happen in Pittsburgh. I'm just saying that's an uninspiring hire that they did kick out at that point right now. But we got more coaches to get to. Also, we're going to continue to hit on Super Bowl 60 and take a look at some of those prop bets here. All coming up on the Sports Grid Network. It's Donnie Rightside. It's Joe Lisi. It's Pro Football Today right here on a Saturday. There's no better.
Heads or tails? Over or under? Seahawks, Patriots. Don't stress. SportsGrid breaks it all down.
They are locks.
We can capitalize.
We're going to see a ton of over money.
Props, expert guests, and smart insight leading up to the big game.
Oh my God, if Sam Darnold wins the Super Bowl.
Only on SportsGrid.
Marshall's a tough environment, though. Marshall's that sneaky road trip, in my opinion, and this has been like a decade long that Marshall's been fire at home and terrible on the road. That's a dangerous road game, but if you look at, there's no return game with Kent State. There's no return game with Akron. Maybe when they go to UMass with Frank Martin being such a good coach, he could really take teams out of their rhythm. But I think there's a case that they could be undefeated in the regular season.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
If there's more revenue for the league, there's more revenue for the players, and that would make it saleable. So they may have objections. There's more risk of injury the longer the season goes. But these guys, their careers are short. The money is good. Money would be better. So I wouldn't bet against the league expanding sooner rather than later.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
His wife and his kids were like, I kind of like this. This kind of works out for me. Hey, Daddy's a celebrity again, so I get access to things. Daddy's making money again. Hadn't made a nickel in the last 5 years. Now he's made a lot of money, so I'm sure they're good.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, the prospect of Daddy being away, like he ain't cheating on you in Buffalo, I can tell you that. I live there.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Right back at it here, Pro Football Today. Still looking at some of those coaching carousels. 2 spots still open right now. That's Las Vegas. We probably think it's going to be Kubiak. He's the favorite. Then Arizona, who knows what they're going to do, Joe. But a couple of these situations that have turned out here, which I thought were interesting. The Cleveland Browns. Well, they didn't make him do any favors with their offensive coordinator who was like, you know what, Jim Schwartz, I think I'd be perfect for this job. We do think as well. Oh, no, we're not going to give you that job. We're going to give it to somebody else who doesn't have nearly any coaching acumen like you, like Todd Monken. Out of nowhere, Todd Monken got it.
Offensive guy, though. I mean, no, we don't like the
He loves Shador? What did he sell him on Shador?
Well, there are some nice offensive weapons that they have. I will say that. Quinshawn Judkins, Fannin. A big play tight end, right? I mean, can you get the most out of Jerry Jeudy? They still have Tillman there. We'll see. I mean, Monken, I think when you look at the teams in the division, and you look at, obviously, his former team, Baltimore, and you look at Pittsburgh, and you look at, obviously, some of the others, Cincinnati with Joe Burrow, you have to be able to score points.
Yep.
We know the defense is good. The problem that they have now is that they upset Jim Schwartz so much that he doesn't want to be there now. So you have Myles Garrett, you have this dominant defense, statistically one of the best in the AFC, but now the guy calling the shots doesn't want to stay in Cleveland. He wants out. He wants to go to another team. What does that mean now for this team overall, chemistry, locker room, and for a player like Myles Garrett that basically led the league and broke the sack record?
I mean, pretty incredible how it turns out, too, because you figure that if it extends it that long, they're probably going to give it to Schwartz. Then maybe, because Udinski was up at the top of that list here, he ends up bailing on that job here and ends up with Todd Monken out of nowhere, where he says, Cleveland's like, we have you 2 more years under contract. And he's like, I just packed my stuff up, so you better fire me right now.
So here's the thing. Remember the test that they supposedly had? They had a written test.
For the coaches?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And that's supposedly, that is why Minter and Mike McDaniel.
Like, I don't want anything to do with it?
They backed out, supposedly. So, did Monken pass the test? And did they give one to Schwartz, too? He was already in-house. That's crazy. It's a dysfunctional organization. They have quarterback needs, and you still don't know if Shador is the guy.
No.
And they bring him back. They're paying how much to Deshaun Watson? $281.
Still, like, is he coming back? I saw him vacation.
He's
Italy
always
lately.
in Italy.
Yeah, he is. He
loves Italy. Don't get me wrong. Great country. You love the food, but I mean, come on. He's always vacationing somewhere. Does this guy really care about football? And if so, he's rehabbing. What do you do with him? He's basically a backup.
He said, work hard, play hard, Joe. He's rehabbing to get back hard. He's out there on vacations
Donnie,
at this point right now.
He's always in the Riviera.
Yeah, Kevin Stefanski should be on the Riviera, but he's not. He's down in Atlanta, Joe, as the new head coach right now. Restructured their front office here. New general manager Matt Ryan comes in as the head of pro football operations there for that team. I think this is going to be an interesting one because that's a winnable division that you can get, and I do think it works perfectly. If Michael Penix can come back healthy early, I think Stefanski's a pretty good fit there down in Atlanta.
I've said it. I like the fit. He's a significant upgrade from where Raheem Morris and Arthur Smith were offensively, right? And when you talk about the defense with Ulbrich last year and how dominant they were in the second half of the season, as long as the offense can be consistent, they're going to be good. I believe Stefanski's a much better head coach than Arthur Smith and Raheem Morris were. So I don't think, listen, I think they are now a front runner to challenge Tampa Bay to win the division. And when you look at it as a whole, it wouldn't shock me, Donnie, 11-6. Would we be shocked with Penix if he comes back healthy, or and this team that they go 11-6 in the South? I mean, Bijan, Kyle Pitts, Drake London. You look at Pierce in that defense. I mean, they have playmakers.
2-time NFL Coach of the Year, Kevin Stefanski takes the helm. Then I do think that was a pretty good move. And also, like, it boggles the mind where it's like, well, why didn't Cleveland just stick with Stefanski at this point? They go to get Monk, another offensive guy. And Stefanski's well thought of around the league, quickly picks up with a job in Atlanta. I think Atlanta made out well. Going from the coaching staff they had last year to this year, I think that's going to be certainly a net positive here. Robert Saleh, interesting one here. He goes to Tennessee. Brian Dable's going to be the offensive coordinator, Joe. But I watched the press conference this week for Saleh, and I do agree with it. When you get that second go-around as head coach, you want to make sure that it's going to be on you, and this might be your last chance that you're ever going to get a head coaching job if you don't succeed. He says, when I was with the Jets, I was more of a CEO coach, wasn't invested there, wasn't calling the defensive plays or the offensive plays, which is fine, which a lot of coaches do. He says, Joe, he's going to call the defensive plays being the head coach of the Tennessee Titans.
And I think that's good for this team. Defensively, they are legit. That front seven, very difficult to run on, led by Jeffrey Simmons. And when you just look at the offense, if Dable can obviously channel that, and really they could put some playmakers, that is the biggest question. Can they put playmakers around Cam Ward and surround him with legitimate wide receiver help? If so, they're going to be okay. Again, is Tennessee and Salah going to all of a sudden turn it around to a 14-win season the way Vrabel had them in number 1 seed against Burrow? No, not in year 1. But I don't think it's a bad hire. Again, Salah calling the defensive side of the ball. And Dable is a better coordinator than he is a head coach. Look, you can't – Brian Dable should just concentrate on offense. He was 20-40 as a head coach. just concentrate on elevating Cam Ward. Callahan and that staff did Cam Ward rotten. I'm sorry. The fact that they didn't develop him and get him ready for year number 2 was a total travesty to that organization.
Keep it in the AFC, Joe. We take a look at the Buffalo Bills moving on from, their previous head coach, Sean McDermott, they have for a number of years, and they say, okay, it's just not good enough here. We need to elevate it. And they go to Joe Brady, but a guy that's been in-house here. The issue was never really the offense. It was more of squaring up that defense. How do you feel now with Joe Brady and also the pressure on his shoulders? Like, this isn't a let's give you hit the ground running 3-4 years. They fired McDermott because he couldn't get to a Super Bowl. It feels like Brady better get to a Super Bowl next year, or was that a failure move?
Yeah, it is. But you saw the press conference. He's very emotional. I love you guys. Thanks for coming out. Doesn't it feel like Josh Allen and the offensive playmakers are going to have more input in the team and what they want to see from an offensive philosophy perspective than maybe what they had with Sean McDermott? Again, here's the thing. If Joe Brady and this team are going to have great success, and great success is obviously winning an AFC championship, that is the goal. It's not just getting to the playoffs. It's you have one of the top 5 quarterbacks potentially in the NFL elevated to a Super Bowl championship. You have to get wide receiver help. I mean, Keon Coleman is good, and I know Josh Allen says he's not giving up on 0, but they need legitimate speed on the outside to go with James Cook. We'll see if they could do it. I like Brady. He's worked against great quarterbacks back in the day like Joe Burrow, but the last time, with Carolina, and I know the success now, with Matt Rule, it didn't work out, and they had Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield, Donnie.
Yeah, they need to stay healthy on defense. There's no question about that. But if you just ask anybody around the league or any fan, they need a number 1 wide receiver on that football team that had a chance to get Jalen Waddle at the trade deadline for a first-round pick, didn't want to do it, and Brandon Beane somehow got a promotion after that while the head coach actually got fired. Crazy times in the NFL. It's pro football today on a Saturday. Donnie Rightside and Joe Lisi. We'll be right back.
Heads or tails? Over or under? Seahawks, Patriots. Don't stress. SportsGrid breaks it all down.
They are locks.
We can capitalize.
We're going to see a ton of over money.
Props, expert guests, and smart insight leading up to the big game.
Oh my God, if Sam Darnold wins the Super Bowl.
Only on SportsGrid.
Marshall's a tough environment, though. Marshall's that sneaky road trip, in my opinion, and this has been like a decade long that Marshall's been fire at home and terrible on the road. That's a dangerous road game, but if you look at, there's no return game with Kent State. There's no return game with Akron. Maybe when they go to UMass with Frank Martin being such a good coach, he could really take teams out of their rhythm. But I think there's a case that they could be undefeated in the regular season.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
If there's more revenue for the league, there's more revenue for the players, and that would make it saleable. So they may have objections. Certainly there's more risk of injury the longer the season goes. But, these guys, their careers are short. The money is good. Money would be better. So I wouldn't bet against the league expanding sooner rather than later.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
His wife and his kids were like, I kind of like this. This kind of works out for me. Daddy's a celebrity again, so I get access to things. Daddy's making money again. Hadn't made a nickel in the last 5 years. Now he's made a lot of money, so I'm sure they're good. But all of a sudden, the prospect of Daddy being away, like he ain't cheating on you in Buffalo, I can tell you that. I live there.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Pro Football Today here on a Saturday on the SportsGrid Network. Donnie Rightside along with Joe Lisi. News coming in, Joe. We always love that live news to give to the people out here. We just talked about the Buffalo Bills. They moved on from Sean McDermott. They hired their offensive coordinator, Joe Brady, to be their head coach and take them to a Super Bowl, which has been a long time since the 1990s where they haven't been back. But they also now, Joe, found themselves with a new defensive coordinator. Jim Leonard comes over as the pass game coordinator there for the Denver Broncos. He's the new DC in Buffalo. Well thought of guy.
No, he's a blue-collar guy. He's been with the organization, former player for the Denver Broncos, obviously coming from Wisconsin back in his college days. But again, at that time that he was in college, he was one of the best defensive coordinators in college football. So now you see him now calling the defensive side of the ball. I think it's a great hire and can really elevate this defense. Again, when you think about Sean McDermott and moving on, that defense did not perform well. It's like they put a Band-Aid, and granted, they obviously had some departures with talent, but they weren't as physical. You could run on the front seven, and I think that's another reason why McDermott wasn't, re-signed or not, let go in that aspect. But Jim Leonard is going to have this ball-hawking defense, and as long as the offense with Brady could cook, they're going to be – look, I would probably say, depending upon if Drake May loses the Super Bowl, if Drake May loses, they're going to be still slight favorites over Buffalo. But I would be – if Buffalo's plus money to win the AFC East – I take it now that Leonard's there.
Yeah, and also, again, if you just make minor changes to that Buffalo Bills team, throw in a number one wide receiver, they're probably going to be the favorites in that division, regardless if New England even wins the Super Bowl. I honestly believe that here. Yeah, I do. Because I just think they're better overall, but, hey, things break. You got to win football games and put up. The Patriots are doing that. The Buffalo Bills are not. Other coordinating jobs that are just feel like they're head coaching jobs, or at least palpable when you think about them. The Philadelphia Eagles, Sean Mannion is going to be their offensive coordinator. Here's the issue I have right now. And I was on yesterday, Game Time Decisions, with Kevin Walsh, talking to him about it. He's like, well, what do you think about the decision? I don't mind Sean Mannion being the offensive coordinator and Grizzard was brought in to be the passing game coordinator. That's okay. But the indictment now has to turn its face on looking at the quarterback himself and how coachable that he might be. Because, Joe, as we know, NFL coaches, head coaches, assistant coaches, grad assistants, they all talk to each other. Mm-hmm. And if you look at a position that says, look, just say based on health. Next year, the Eagles' offensive line comes back healthy. It's a good offensive line. Next year, your running back position is healthy. Oh, it's Saquon Barkley. That's pretty good. Let's just say A.J. Brown doesn't get traded. An elite talent combo at the wide receiver position. And you're telling me offensive coordinators who are up and coming are going like, yeah, I don't know about that position. You know what that leads me to believe is, wait, I watch all this tape. Boy, they're running 3 verticals, 4 verticals, a crossing route. The 2 guys in the flat are wide open. Jalen Hurts just feels like rolling out of the pocket to the right and throwing the football away. It felt to me like that was an indictment hire because nobody wanted the job, not because it's not a good job, because the last 2 coordinators, 2 out of the 4, they're head coaches in the NFL. What happened?
I don't know. Well, obviously what happened is they're not as run-heavy as they were, right? Yeah. Or they can't run the football. Work. They can't run the football the way they used to when they won a Super Bowl and ripped off basically 14-3 overall season, or 15-2 for that matter. But again, when you look at Sean Mannion, and he was the quarterback coach with Jordan Love in Green Bay, Jordan Love did have dynamic numbers for the most part this year when he was healthy. And again, that offense looked considerably more explosive this year with Sean Mannion. And again, if he can bring just a hint of that to Philadelphia with Jalen Hurts, I think they're going to have an opportunity. But again, comes down to also, Don, look, I'm not saying Jalen Hurts is all world, like we're going to put him on the same level.
It's Pro Bowler this year, Joe. Pro Bowler.
But my point is, maybe not Matt Stafford, not some of the greats, right? Okay, but he's still an MVP caliber type of quarterback. You have to call the game plan to his strengths. You can't just say, I want to do this. You got to figure it out. You got to develop a game plan that he is comfortable with. And I think that has been the problem last year with the Eagles' offense.
And also just being aggressive as well. There's no saying that the Eagles can't get back to the Super Bowl, but just kind of where they told you they were going to take a big swing, which meant you probably thought it was going to be Dable and or Mike McDonald.
They
both looked
down
at that job and said, we don't want those. We're going to turn it down. And now you're down to your 5th or 6th option. And look, Mannion is well thought of in Green Bay. There's no question about it. They liked him there, and I do think it'll be a good transition. And they said he is going to call the plays.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you think it's more they turned it down for Sirianni?
No.
You don't think it has nothing to do with Sirianni?
Because if you would have said to me, Joe, like, well, what's the track record? Hey, Shane Steichen did a good job there. Oh, he's a head coach now? Well, what about Kellen Moore? He never got a chance to be a head coach. Oh, he came to Philadelphia 1 year, won a Super Bowl as a head coach now. You have to look at that track record. It's like, do you want to replace guys that continue to get fired? Or, hey, if I go there, Joe, do a good job, I'm going to make tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah. No, it's an interesting point. It's just, it's a crazy fit. It's just how this team, with all these weapons, nobody wants that job.
Exactly. It's crazy how it turns out here. We'll see if it's a plus or a minus net negative for the Philadelphia Eagles next year. Hour number 2 is going to come up. We're going to take a deep dive into a lot of prop bets into Super Bowl 60, but also I want to get Joe's take on an offensive coordinator that was just hired by the Baltimore Ravens. Could be a fun one here. Having fun on a Saturday. It's what we do. It's Pro Football Today right here on the SportsGrid Network. The boys are popping. Super Bowl 60, 1 week away.
Heads or tails? Over or under? Seahawks, Patriots. Don't stress. SportsGrid breaks it all down.
They are locks.
We can capitalize.
We're going to see a ton of over money.
Props, expert guests, and smart insight leading up to the big game.
Oh my God, if Sam Darnold wins the Super Bowl.
Only on SportsGrid.
Marshall's a tough environment, though. Marshall's that sneaky road trip, in my opinion, and this has been like a decade long that Marshall's been fire at home and terrible on the road. That's a dangerous road game, but if you look at, there's no return game with Kent State. There's no return game with Akron. Maybe when they go to UMass with Frank Martin being such a good coach, he could really take teams out of their rhythm. But I think there's a case that they could be undefeated in the regular season.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
If there's more revenue for the league, there's more revenue for the players, and that would make it saleable. So they may have objections. Certainly there's more risk of injury the longer the season goes. But, these guys, their careers are short. The money is good. Money would be better. So I wouldn't bet against the league expanding sooner rather than later.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
His wife and his kids were like, I kind of like this. This kind of works out for me. Daddy's a celebrity again, so I get access to things. Daddy's making money again. Hadn't made a nickel in the last 5 years. Now he's made a lot of money, so I'm sure they're good. But all of a sudden, the prospect of Daddy being away, like he ain't cheating on you in Buffalo, I can tell you that. I live there.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.